How does the film's portrayal of reality versus simulation affect current concerns about technology?
So, the film portrays the real world as a charred hellscape, while The Matrix is acting sort of a gilded cage for the people's minds. Humanity relied on technology far too much in the lead up to the events of the machine takeover, and now inevitably ended up to be their downfall. Now, when the war started and the machines started killing the humans, the machines were able to absolutely tear apart humanity because they were the bedrock for everything that we ever did. But humanity, in classic humanity fashion, we decided the way to solve the problem with machines killing us all was to combat it with more technology. So in The Matrix, it's a reveal that Morpheus bestows upon Neo that it was the humans who were the ones who scorched the sky and turned everything black because we thought that it would kill the machines. But that ended up just being another example of humanity using technology to be their own means of their downfall. And this reflects the real world today because humanity often habitually uses useful and constructive technologies in destructive and violent means. And we can see that through the use of drone warfare and malicious uses for AI and etc., etc. Once again, you could take the example of the airplane. It was invented and it was a miracle of technology at the time, but within 10, 15 years, they were already using it to kill people and drop bombs out of the sky. So it's more of a habitual problem that humanity has to have their own inventions be used against them.
The film is structured around the choice of freedom versus comfort. How does this relate to modern-day technology?
So, in The Matrix, the topic of freedom is one that drives the entire story, and it's essentially the core of the entire movie. But the problem is that across the group of characters that we had, different characters had different ideas of what freedom meant to them and what they wanted to achieve through their freedom that they wanted. So if you're looking at the group of Morpheus and Neo and Trinity and all those people, their idea of freedom was to emancipate themselves from the system of controls that they had in place through the machines, having them in little egg pods or whatever. But if you look at the other group of thinking, which is Cypher, and he's pretty much alone in that, his idea of freedom was to be able to do what you want and be autonomous, I assume would be the right word. Because when he's talking about freedom with Trinity, his biggest complaint was that in the real world, his life was miserable and his life sucked, and he hated listening to Morpheus talking about how to do everything, when in reality, all Cypher wanted was just a comfortable life inside the Matrix. And he has the sense of autonomy if he would go back in the Matrix, because he asked Agent Smith in that one dinner scene that he wanted to forget everything if he wants to be put back in the Matrix. So those are the two schools of thought when it comes to freedom within the Matrix, and they're the biggest drivers of conflict within the story. This relates to real-world technology today because modern companies are grounded in the principle that people are willing to give up their time, their privacy, and essentially their autonomy when they're being connected to this massive system of social media and algorithms in place. And that's eerily in line with what we see in The Matrix.
In what ways do Neo and others embody the search for truth and autonomy?
So, The Matrix takes place at the turn of the century, between the 20th century and the 21st century. It's the dawn of a new age, hence the name of our main character, Neo, which means new. So he represents breaking free from the monotony and bureaucracy of society because even though he has a regular job in his day life, by night he's what society would consider unconventional and breaking free from the conformities of society by being a hacker and doing illegal activities. So the movie materializes him actually breaking free from the conforms of society by actually making him physically break free from the matrix that society has put around everybody by having them literally unplug their brains and everything. So that's how Neo represents autonomy in the movie in a world where social variance is largely unacceptable. How does Jackman portray ambition and moral ambiguity in Angier's character?
In The Prestige, Hugh Jackman portrays Angier's character through his relentless search for perfectionism and revenge. sacrificing relationships and morality to outdo boredom.
Discuss the difference between the charm and the darker aspects of Angier's personality, balancing complexity with character.
Angier's moral ambiguity is evident in his willingness to exploit others, including taking lives to achieve his goals, blurring the line between dedication and moral corruption. Jackman's performance captures Angier's descent into darkness, balancing charisma with the tolerance of his greediness. This can be exhibited through how he presents himself along the progression of the film. As the movie progresses and his showmanship and ego skyrockets, it's in direct conjunction with the decline of the moral standards behind the curtain. The brighter the lights of Angier's theaters, the darker his psyche became.
How does Jackman's performance between the rivalry between Angier and Borden compel the intensity of the story?
Hugh Jackman's performance makes the rivalry between Angier and Borden exciting by showing how jealous and obsessed Angier becomes. He shows Angier's charm and focus, but also his anger and desperation, making their conflict strong and emotional.